Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you in the FijiWater.com sponsored studio every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, scheduling permitted. Wherever you are across the U.S. and wherever you are around the globe, set your reminder because we are live right here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and we are on RadioFreeNetwork.com. Go to RadioFreeNetwork.com, click on Radio, the New Life link will appear, click on New Life, and every broadcast will be available to you. You can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships. Whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind, God is concerned about that which concerns you. So we are here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily, Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know the Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is Earth's finest water. And for those of you who continue giving on the give segment of our app at New Life Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our website at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeInternationalCDC.com, we thank you for your support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, scheduling permitted, right here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that your business has picked up significantly since there has been more public movement. And now your husband wants to take time off during the holidays and go on vacation. However, you are expecting an even busier holiday season, so you do not want to go on vacation during the holidays. Your husband wants to go on vacation during the holidays. Let me say this. You're going to have a conversation with your husband and explain to him that because your business is now picking up again, so it's increased. There's been an increase in traffic, there's been an increase in business, and an increase in revenue. And for the entire pandemic, I'm going to use this term because I'm excited that you thrived, but you struggled to thrive during the pandemics. And as I encouraged everyone, and as I said repeatedly, we didn't want to just survive the pandemic. We wanted to thrive through the pandemic. And so you struggled to make that effort to do that, to thrive during the pandemic. But now you're seeing the increase of business, the increase of revenue. You're correct. You should not take off during the holidays right now. But the conversation you're going to have with your husband, because he's not going to let this go until you break it down for him in this way. Explain to him that what you really want to do is get through not only the fourth quarter of this year, which includes the holidays, but you also want to get through the first quarter of the coming year. And then what you're willing to do is take some time off and go on a vacation. You'll check in while you're away. The employees will be responsible for running the business. Your manager will be responsible for the business for that time that you're off. And you can check in, you can get an operating report, an operations report daily, sent to you by email, or, I'm a baby boomer, so, or fax, whatever the case may be, so that you can track the business and keep up with what's going on, and so that everyone knows that you're on top of things. Your employees need to know that, your manager needs to know that, but you and your husband can at least get some time away. Tell them you need 2 more quarters to be able to do that. Break it down to them that way. You cannot do this in a way that it's emotional. You have to explain it to them from a corporate perspective. And what I mean by emotional is you just saying, I want to go on vacation too, but this isn't the right time. He's not gonna grab hold of that. But if you break it down to him from a corporate perspective, that you need 2 more quarters, you need the entire holiday season. So the 4th quarter of the year, you need the entire holiday season to really make certain that your bottom line is secure for the year. And you need the 1st quarter of the new year to make certain that you have driven the business enough in the 1st quarter that it will continue to increase for the 3 subsequent quarters of next year. This is how you've got to break that down. And if you approach it in that way, he's going to get a better understanding. He's going to focus on his work and encourage him to focus on his work for those 2 quarters. And then you'll be able to take a break and go on vacation in the spring. After you complete Q4 and Q1. Q4 this year, Q1 next year. You've got to really have that conversation, because otherwise this is going to be some contention and conflict between the 2 of you. And what you don't need right now, when your business is increasing, your bottom line is healthy, and you are really thriving as we, continue to move out of this pandemic, the last thing you need right now is conflict in your personal life, because it will have an impact on your professional life. So I'm going to encourage you, sit down, have a conversation with your husband. Have a conversation with him. Tell him that what you both are going to do right now is focus on business and work. Getting the work done, pushing your business forward, and making certain that his career is healthy, his career is successful, your bottom line is healthy. And he comes in and helps out when he's done with his day. He helps out at your business. But you both are going to have to really work through these next 2 quarters. These next 2 quarters, let me say this for all of our listeners and viewers, because I want everyone to really get this. These next 2 quarters are going to be real important for people. And the reason is because we are still in the midst of a global pandemic. Let me rephrase that. We are at the back end of a global pandemic. And I know a lot of people don't want to talk about this because there's varying opinions. There's varying opinions about every facet of this. But, however, no matter how you look at it, no matter from what perspective you look at this pandemic has had an impact globally, whatever the circumstances are. See, we get pigeonholed into one perspective or one point of view, and we don't look at the big picture. The big picture is this has impacted the world in some way. because everyone's been closed down in some facet, some form. But we're still functioning. The world hasn't come to an end. We're still functioning. And we're still able to thrive. But we have to accept the reality of what we're dealing with. And that means that, first of all, it's something that none of us has ever seen. And if anyone has seen it, they're not old enough to remember it. So we're dealing with something that we have to find methods to work our way through so that we can thrive during this period of time. Having said that, I also will add that if we didn't have these varying opinions and different perspectives, we would have been not only coming to the end of this, we would have this pretty much under control, for lack of a better term. But that's not the case. So we have to look at ourselves individually, and then we have to look at ourselves collectively. And so what I want to say to you is that there's a lot of moving parts to navigate. Keep your eye on the prize. Stay focused on your business. These next 2 quarters are going to be very important for all of us. And what we have to be willing to do is set aside our own perspectives, set aside what we think may be going on in our environment, our public health environment, and do what we know is best. And that is first and foremost to make certain that we suppress this contaminant. COVID is not going anywhere, but we have to be able to suppress it like we do the flu annually. Suppress the public health crisis, suppress that. The contagion, suppress it. And then we have to focus on the business at hand. And that's really what we have to focus on. Because life is not going to stop. So we have to focus on what we can do to make it better for all of us collectively so that we can move forward individually. So you're going to have that conversation with your husband and tell him, now that we're coming to the back end of this pandemic, you really want to make sure that your holiday season is extremely successful and that the first quarter of the year you want to thrive to a point that it will continue thriving Q2, Q3, and Q4 of next year. I'm looking for an amazing year ahead. But I know we have to put some work into these next 2 quarters in order to accomplish that. And it's been good thus far. I mean, everyone's heard me say we have really thrived through the pandemic. We are not done thriving. We have really thrived through this pandemic. And when we come out, we're going to be even further ahead than we were when we came in. And we're going to continue to push forward to make certain that everyone experiences a better quality of life. Have the conversation with your husband, explain those things to him, wait until the spring to take a vacation, and I promise you, according to what God has spoken, your lives will be so much more blessed. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, nor have you been for the previous 90 days, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will place you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have been working with your daughter in her new business. And even though it's her business, you've been working with her, you both are equal partners in the investment. So you've invested in her business. And now what you recognize is that the two of you have conflicting goals. So let's address that. So let me first of all say this. And I really want everyone to hear this, and I'd like for you to pass this on to family, friends, co-workers, and colleagues. Listen, your daughter is a millennial. First of all, to God be the glory that the two of you have opened a business together. Your business is actually 5 years old. You survived the pandemic. You've thrived through the pandemic. But one of the things that you have to recognize, so remember I said your daughter's a millennial. One of the things that you have to recognize is that millennials have not really grasped the big picture. You know, we have YOLO, you only live once. We have FOMO, fear of missing out. And then you have the perspective that they realize that they're capable of doing anything. They're a brilliant generation. They're capable of anything. And the reason is because they have more access to the world than we ever had as baby boomers. The internet has changed the world. All right. Having said that, millennials have a philosophy that they are living to make money so that they can travel and have experiences. For the very first time in the history of our culture, we are in a position to focus on wealth building. Now, in investment banking, we always had a saying that said, the first generation will build wealth, the second generation will preserve wealth, the third generation, if not prepared, would destroy wealth. We didn't come as baby boomers, we didn't come from the generation that built wealth. What they did was taught us how to survive. And the way that they taught us how to survive, so food on the table, you don't get rained on, clothes on your back. They taught us how to survive. And they told us you need to get an education. So we got educated. As baby boomers, we are not only the largest generation, but we are now the wealthiest generation. Now, you have a segment of the population of millennials who are creators, they're innovators, they're building wealth. But then you have another population of baby boomers who all they care about is making money, enough money to travel and to have experiences. Our goal is, for the very first time, is to build the wealth that can be preserved by the next generation. We have the opportunity to do that. And not only do we want them to preserve it, but we want them to continue building. So that the following generation, their children, will have wealth to preserve and prepare the next generation. So, listen, everyone knows I'm a big legacy guy. It troubles me because we as baby boomers have been building wealth, and what we've been doing with the wealth is enabling our children. And that's a problem. And so now what's happened is, with all of the other technology platforms, it has given and I don't want anybody to think that I don't love millennials. I do love millennials. The problem is that they have become self-consumed. Selfies. They're a selfie generation. And consequently, they're not concerned about wealth building. They're just concerned about travel and experiences. So that's your daughter's goal. Watch this, your single daughter. That's her goal. I can make money, I can live well, and I can travel and have experiences. That's who she's become. Your goal was to invest in the business, help her work the business, help her grow the business, so that when she gets married and has children, which is your hope, that she will then be able to bring in her child as her child grows to work in the business, become familiar with the business, be prepared for the transition of wealth. I get it. But that's not who she is. And that's why you're having the conflict. So what I want to encourage you to do is, and as I was prayerful about this, God showed me in that secret place. I got a clear picture of your daughter, but what I'm going to encourage you to do now is not to depend on your daughter to build the wealth. If she gets married and has a child or children, you're going to pass on your portion of the wealth to your grandchild, because hopefully they will be prepared to take on the responsibility of wealth. So it's a generational skipping legacy, because that too has happened. Often people find themselves in a position where they realize that whatever they leave their children is going to be destructive for them. So there's two schools of thought on that, and one is where you see the bumper sticker that says, "I'm spending my children's inheritance," and then the other one is, the other school of thought is, we will create a generational skipping legacy, and we'll help to nurture our grandchildren to prepare them so that the inheritance won't destroy your child. So it's two ways to look at that, because you're either, if your daughter gets married and has a child, you can then pass on your portion of the wealth to your grandchild. If your daughter does not get married and have children, you're going to have a good time spending her inheritance. Because at some point you'll know. At some point you're going to know exactly what she's going to do long term with her life. But right now, you're not going to get her off of, I'm going to make enough money so that I can have a good life and I can travel. She's going down that path that so many others have gone down, and it is a destructive path. It is a path that will delay your destiny, and it is a path that will disrupt your wealth. Because for the very first time, we had an opportunity to not be concerned about what our parents could not afford to leave us, but we had the opportunity to build wealth as a boomer generation, to build wealth, and then for our children to transition that wealth into a legacy. Unfortunately, they've chosen to go a different route. The millennial generation has chosen to go a different route. It's sad, but it's true. And the reason that I say it's sad, because millennials are the brightest and the best of us that we have ever been. They really are. They're extremely intelligent. They're extremely competent. However, they've just made a different choice. And that choice is not going to allow us to further the cause of building wealth. So we have to take our own steps, the necessary actions to ensure that we can get what we want to get accomplished during our lifetime and after our lifetime has ended here, because we do have the advantage, for those of us who are saved, of eternal life. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at the retail stores. They have everything that you could possibly need. They have, well, let me rephrase that, everything a man could possibly need. They have shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. If you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And the White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at the retail store. They have everything you could possibly need. They have home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. If you're not in New York, you can order from the White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that your sister is completely irresponsible and your parents continue to enable her, and you want to know what can you do to encourage her to make better choices. So I will tell you that as I was prayerful about this, God allowed me to see in that secret place of your life. And the reason is because it was important for me to understand that you're not being a hater. You're absolutely right. Your sister is completely irresponsible. She's just irresponsible. I get it. But the job is not to judge her. The job is to, first of all, be an example. Be a great example. You're correct also that your parents enable. Your parents, there's an old adage that says your parents have created that monster. They have enabled her to the point where she has no sense of responsibility. Zero. Your sister still lives at home with your parents. Your sister she has no responsibility to your parents' household. She is in and out. She goes to work, comes home, changes, goes in, out, does all of the things that she wants to do, does not take responsibility for anything. But here's what you have to do. First of all, be the example. And second of all, you need to share and remind your sister that every choice has a consequence. Your sister hasn't experienced the consequences because your parents are the safety net. They are willing to be her safety net, and when she falls, they're there to catch her. She's never going to get hurt because your parents are there. But what about when your parents are gone? When your parents go home to be with the Lord, your sister's not going to be prepared. So you should have a conversation with your sister and remind her the reason you want her to make better choices is because there's consequences to every choice. And keep her in your prayers. Keep her prayed up. Because inevitably, she's going to do something that is going to be counterproductive to her having a great quality of life. You can be the example, you can share with her the consequences, and you can pray. And I know you noticed I didn't say have a conversation with your parents about her, because your parents are going to do what they want to do, because they're the parents. Your sister is going to have to make a decision that she wants to be more responsible, so that she doesn't have to depend on your parents to give her a great quality of life. She's an adult, and she just needs the example of you and a reminder of the consequences. 3D, today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money.